Welcome to episode number 82 of About the Cards podcast, live tonight on YouTube. As always, with me, my host, Stephen Loeffler, Joke Wex Twins. He's actually just with us, but he's on assignment in the Great White North. So he's out in Minnesota, almost to Canada, I think. Who knows? It's all once you get like up that far, it's all the same. Ben Wilson at our trading cards. Guest host, Mike Sommer at the Mike Sommer, the famous Mike Sommer of the new podcast, the Sports Card Minutes. The Wax Pack Hero Sports Card Minute. It's amazing. Great shows. You were interviewed by Ryan. Yeah. After me, though. You followed my footsteps there. No. And Drew. True. Yeah, I mean, the three of us like that, it's a pretty good. I mean, he's just going with the Mount Rushmore podcast people. Me, you, Drew, and we'll see who the fourth one is up there with us. And I'm Tim Scheffler at Big Ship 79. We are a podcast by collectors for collectors, hoping to bring you a smart and insightful podcast discussing trading card collecting. We're live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on YouTube, Periscope, Facebook Live. You always follow us on Twitter at About the Cards. We're available as a podcast everywhere. Check out the website aboutthecards.wordpress.com and find us on the Flick Chat app. We have a special guest with us tonight, Chris Anderson at CD Anders 313 on Twitter. What's up, buddy? How are you doing tonight?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on. This is kind of bittersweet being on. This show is something I always look forward to listening every Thursday morning when I jump in the car on my way to work. So
awesome!
It's the first Thursday I don't have that to look forward to, but
you can listen back and listen to yourself and then and show. You know, hey, I was on TV last night.
Yeah, so, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you on. I think we have you had there was some back and forth and I think a lot on Twitter recently and about your collection and collecting. We're going to get into that, and I think it brings up a really good point and kind of like why we want to have you on. And we find you seem to be a very similar to collector to most of the guys on the show, and then some most that are out there. So real quick bio: you're born and raised in Michigan. You've been collecting for 39 years without a break. So what? 1981?
No, 1981, right? Yeah, started with sticker books. The old top sticker books, 25-cent pack of stickers. That was just something I started doing with my dad, and that was kind of the gateway drug. It was all downhill after that.
Yeah, and the stickers led into cards and autographs and autographed baseballs, figurines, TTMs, complete sets, pennants, programs, tickets. You basically everything.
Yeah, totally the ADD of collecting, which. Kind of through that time, you'd always run into or meet, friends or new people who wanted to get into collecting. And there was always kind of one of those, give them that advice of, kind of find something you like and kind of focus on that. So it totally was the do what I say, don't do what I do, because I totally didn't stick to that at all. And was just kind of all over the place and got my hands dirty in a little bit of everything, and really just a sucker for anything with the old English D on it for sure.
Okay, yeah. So big Detroit fan.
Yeah,
that's and your focus has always been on Detroit teams, but especially the Tigers, correct?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Tigers is my first love for sure.
Nice. And so I got a quick question. So you're also a Lions fan, right?
I am also I am a Lions fan, yes.
So and Mike, real quick, Mike, you're involved with the church, right?
Yeah.
Can we say a prayer for Chris because he's a Lions fan?
Need a little bit more than a prayer. Some professional help for sure to stick with that group.
Yeah. So
real quick, can we ask Chris his thoughts since we just had the Hall of Fame and I don't know if he's planning on sticking around the whole show. Lou Whitaker, Hall of Famer or no?
Oh, a Hall of Famer since the day he stepped off that field. Shouldn't take 20 years of discussion to kind of come to that summation or to change some minds.
Jack Morris. I know he's a Hall of Famer, but should he be?
Jack Morris falls in it's tough. It's hard to get me to say that he shouldn't be. He kind of falls. I think he falls more in that gray area, especially way more than Lou Whitaker. The only really second baseman with comparable numbers to Lou Whitaker is Joe Morgan, and Joe Morgan's there, so why not Lou?
Oh, okay, so Bill Freehand or Lou Whitaker. You can only pick one of those two Tigers.
Oh man, that's 11 straight All Star games there with or Gold Gloves with Bill Freehand.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah.
I guess I would go Bill Freehand. He's
and I don't understand how he's
American
not.
League for a decade.
Yeah, I mean, you look when you're the best player at your position in a league for a decade.
Yeah,
that says something. You should be a Hall of Fame. Like, and anyway, it's crazy to me. I grew up, so I
thought Jack Morris was a Blue Jay.
No, he's a twin.
He's a Twinkie.
He's a twin.
So Chris,
you could argue that he was
Indian.
Yeah, or a red. You ever seen
yeah.
One with no mustache is a red. Freak you out.
That's like seeing Tom Selleck without a mustache.
For sure.
Freaky.
Sure.
So Whitaker gets in the Hall of Fame, but Alan Trammell has to leave. Yes or no?
Oh, no way. I'm a Tram guy.
Gotcha. Just curious. I mean,
yeah, that's totally personal. Like that, probably statistically, Tram or Whitaker's more deserving, but I've always been a Tram guy, so that personal preferences will play in there.
Fair enough. Go ahead, Tim. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. So I started watching football in 1989, and I was a Lions fan because of Barry Sanders. My grandpa was his head coach in his junior in high school, and so I always followed his career. But once he retired, it was kind of like my exit to be like, I don't like this pain and suffering anymore. I love you, Detroit. Even have a Lions hat like right here. It's a newer one. I mean, a couple years old, but I had to walk away because I was like, it's too painful what they did with his career, and so I'm there with you. I still watch and root for him, but hopefully they can figure it out someday. I know if Steph was here tonight, he would tell his bad joke about NFC North and the children, and basically that he said that I think the Lions were basically eating paste in the corner. So,
you draft Mike Williams a year after he's been just sitting around.
Yeah. Oh, and well, let's just draft wide receivers number one for a few years in a row and just see what happens.
Sure.
Oh, and by the way, we have Joey Harrington as our quarterback. It's tough. So you've always really been focused on the Tigers. At one point, you're pursuing every Detroit Tiger card that was printed, numbered of 100 or higher. And so, kind of, how did you start that? How did you know which ones you needed and go after? Kind of walk us through that journey.
Yeah, sure. No, absolutely. And we talked a little bit off air too. So, I've always kind of, like I said, I've been really kind of ADD with my collecting, really just kind of scatterbrained and jumping from one thing to the next, and kind of, in that late 80s, early 90s sweet spot, like it's really, really easy to do, right? I mean, there was player everything, right? Team everything that you could go after. And so, like I said, kind of bounced around and did some different things, and that probably before I kind of hit my big collecting like downsize and my kind of reorientation. That was kind of the last big thing I was at that point, and it was perfect because I'd acquired a large old card catalog out of an old school library that would have that held that what I had amassed of that collection really nicely. It's been really cool, kind of going forward with that. In terms of like checklist, I haven't seen it on there. I'm not sure if it's really produced anymore, but this was probably about 10 years ago, maybe even earlier, 15 years. There actually was a guy on who I found on eBay, just random Tiger checklists, or there was somebody who was producing like a bound like checklist book of every card for a particular team manufactured since the early 1900s. And it wasn't perfect, it wasn't exact. I mean, just through my own experience in collecting and going through shows, like I found errors and mistakes in it and things too. But the guy would So the book initially cost like $25 or something like that, and then he would produce like an annual update every year. So he would send you an annual update. And I kind of made the mistake early on though, because you had an option of getting it paper bound or getting the Excel copy, and so I made the mistake early on of getting the paper bound one because it was just kind of cool to carry around to shows and like check off. Later on, it was like, oh, the Excel would have been a lot more useful to kind of sort around with. But yeah, no, so I started down that road, and I was kind of using that to kind of track what I had and what I didn't have. And again, like I said, I had this really cool old, like beautiful card catalog from the library that had all the cards like organized and filed into. And then, we'd gotten to a point with my family where we had an opportunity to move to a better neighborhood than what we had lived in before. The downside to that is that we moved into a house that was half the size of the house that we lived in. So really kind of had to make some tough choices, and not just collecting, but just stuff in general, like kind of paring down. Probably the decision, the choices that people have to make when they're of retirement age or not able to have to move into like assisted living or something. That kind of equated to that. And as I kind of joke around with people, like now having gone through that process, like I'm ready to do that. Like I went from big house to smaller house where I've already downsized and got rid of stuff. So like I'm almost assisted living right at this point. But so with that too, with that downsizing, I really had to make some hard, tough decisions about the things that I collect, just knowing that I didn't have the storage space anymore to kind of keep all those things. So I kept the things that meant the most, the things that had meant the most to me. So I pared down that giant collection of Tiger cards just to Topps cards that I had, the top just flagship sets there. And I'd also had a pretty big collection of Tiger autograph cards. In fact, I have an autograph card of every player who, it stepped on the field, for a third of an inning or saw at least one pitch since 1970. And
So do you have a Kurt Knudsen autograph?
I do. I have several. He's an easy get.
So I have a fun story about Kurt Knudsen. He actually, I don't know if he still is, but for a while he was a police officer in the town I grew up in as a kid after his playing career. But during his playing career, he used to frequent the LCS I went to, Coach's Corner. And as like a 12-year-old kid, getting to hang out with a major leaguer, he didn't have a very long career. He played a couple seasons, but to get to talk to him about, asking about Sparky Anderson and what that was like, and he was just the most normal guy ever. Would open packs with us, would get excited, and so every time I pull out, it was at 93 Topps Kurt Knudsen rookie cards. I have a pile of them because I'm like, he was great. So that's awesome. I can throw out just a random guy from the mid 90s, and you're like, I got that.
Yeah, that 93 one where he's in the mid stretch. Yeah, absolutely, all day long.
Yep,
for sure.
I love it. So now that you've gone through and you have all these sets, and as Ben and I know, and when you're building those team sets, it's after a while, it's like, okay, well, I got this year's, and now I got to wait till next year's, and so, but you still want to collect and have fun. So did you do anything else?
Yeah, so that again, like I said, I kind of had to go through a purge just in terms of kind of lifestyle issues, and that's kind of the question that I brought up too, because I'm sure a lot of other collectors have kind of faced this or kind of gotten to this point too. I've kind of hit it a few times over the last couple of years now, where you kind of hit that collecting wall in terms of like what's next. Like what do I have everything? What's next? So again, when I kind of pared down my collection, I had gotten to that point. It's like, all right, well, I have all the Tiger, the flagship base set since 1968. I can easily just pick up everything that's new and continue on. There's not really much of a challenge there, right? So so just kind of after, kind of giving it some thought and just kind of throwing around with some buddies, figured like, all right, well, I guess it's time. We might as well go all the way back to 50. let's hit 52 through 67. And so I started doing that, and it's amazing when your collection's actually focused, how quickly you can acquire those when you're not collecting everything you see in sight, when you have a focus and a goal. And so I actually moved through those team sets pretty quickly. I figured it would take me, maybe 3 years just based on my monthly card budget to catch those up. And when you're willing to give a lot on condition, especially with some of those older cards, it was pretty easy to plow through 52 through 67.
And it's about having it. You can always replace and upgrade. That's the one thing
right
that I've learned. I think the one guy that really brought that to my attention was Ben Aguirre. Cardboard Icons was always showing I have this. It was a Ted Williams rookie card, and it's a 2, but hey, later on I found a 4, so now I can sell the 2 to kind of supplement some, and I can go get it, and just kind of continue to upgrade and find a better version at a price you feel good with. But hey, at least I have one, right? And then that's always a good feeling.
So, other than K-Line from 52 through 67, other than the high numbers, was there anybody else that was a little pricey?
No, not really. I mean, some of the high numbers in 65, 66, 67. Some of those, like there's a couple of the Tiger team cards fall into the high number, so those always are premium. Lolich's rookie card, Mickey Lolich's rookie card is one of those high number cards. Norm Cash's first Tiger card is one of those. And actually, funny, speaking of the K-line, so I kind of had envisioned when I started on that journey of knocking out those team sets that I'd probably just, again, always kind of looking for a deal and trying to get quantity as I plowed through that checklist. I kind of figured that K-line kind of being the big white whale there, that would be the last card that I would end up knocking off that list. And it actually didn't work out that way. I actually went to a conference work, and they had a blackjack tournament, and I don't gamble. I don't play cards at all, but I somehow finished third in this blackjack tournament, which had a cash payout. And so that cash payout immediately went to purchasing a 54 K-line.
That's awesome.
Pretty sweet to
how many
out with a $10 buy-in. That K-line cost me $10.
That's awesome.
How many 52s high numbers are the Tigers have?
In 52?
Yeah.
There's just 2.
Okay, so A's had 3, and then they had 6 blackbacks. But yeah, those 60. Do you do the O-Pee-Chees?
I don't. I haven't done the O-Pee-Chees or the Venezuelans or any of those.
Because give them ideas.
71 O-Pee-Chees are nasty too, as far as the high numbers. I mean, just even the common ones for the A's cost, if you can find them, $80, $120. I mean, they're very difficult. So, for somebody that collects very similar to how I collect, if you want those, it's going to be you're going to have to pony up to get them.
So how do you display the cards? Are they in binders, boxes? How do you have them?
Yeah, just based on the space that I have now, they're in monster boxes. They're all penny sleeved. I guess all the Tigers from 52 through 74. I have in top loaders in monster boxes. Everything else is a penny sleeve on through.
Oh, nice. Okay, who would you say is your favorite Tiger of all time?
Oh, it's got to be Trammell for sure. He was. He was kind of like the guy, right. He was the guy right there when when I first got into collecting, when I first started going. He wasn't a star yet at that point, but he was kind of well on his way.
Not Matt Noakes or Bobby Higginson. Let's see if we can throw out some other rando Tigers. Joe Randa, when he was a Tiger. Yeah.
Cecil, I have quite a few Cecil cards too. So my collection isn't just limited to. I still have a little bit of that ADD aspect to my collection. So beyond the Tiger team sets, there are also, I also will grab just individual random Tiger cards that I just think are cool.
So
and oddball cards. And so Cecil has a ton of like food issues, and so from the 80s and 90s, I have a ton of those.
yeah, I love those. Those are some of my favorites. So the Tigers are in a rebuild mode, right? Just exploded.
Call it that.
Yeah. What does their future look like to you?
I think their future. I don't know, they need some help. I think similar to we talked about the Lions being in love with receiver draft picks. The Lions have fallen into a run where they've fallen in love with just big arm pitching prospects, and we kind of know like there a lot of people locally are really really excited by that about that whole group. There's about 5 or 6 of them, and a lot of people are talking. Those guys are going to be a double. Probably be a double A. Start this year. By mid-year, they're going to be in Toledo. At the triple A by July. These guys are going. I think they are going to start coming up. I don't think it's quick, but I mean, just kind of statistically, right, that prospect pitchers. I mean, if there's 6 of them, probably 2 of them are going to become probably average major leaguers. 2 of them are just going to flame out, and 2 of them will kind of.
Well, we're pulling for Matt Manning because he's from the Sacramento area, and his dad Rich was a NBAer. He's a big dude, like 6'10", and so we're hoping he does well. And you got Casey Mize. You guys, the number 1 pick? You have the number 1 pick this year as well.
Correct. Yeah.
On the clock.
And it's funny. I was just listening to a Tigers podcast on my way home from work today, and people have already started to kind of potential picks college baseball season kicked off, right? And
the name you need to probably pay attention to, Spencer Torkelson. I think so.
That's the name that came up.
Yeah,
the name they spent the most time.
Yeah, so we'll see. To me, a name means a lot. His name does not sound successful. I don't know what it is, but it is what it is. So we ask all of our guests this: if you could only own one card that you currently own, which card would it be and why?
Being a regular listener, I was kind of anticipating this question, and
does his homework.
I did my homework, and I kind of have a bad answer. So there isn't just one.
That's okay.
There's a couple of them, and they kind of all reside in the same box, so it would be a pretty easy lift. But and I actually have them here. So it's actually 3. So one of them is that K-Line rookie card. That's again just kind of a card I never thought I would really own, and kind of a cool part of taking on that Tiger project.
Oh, the story's awesome. So that's what's really cool.
Right, the $10. The second one, Ben, actually is you mentioned Reggie Jackson earlier. The second one actually is a Reggie Jackson rookie card. It is a 2.5, which yay. But no, this is cool. This was actually a graduation present from
that's awesome
from my parents from when I was in high school.
I do not have a graded one, so I'm an ace collector, and look at you, the Tigers collector has something I don't have. That's awesome.
Yeah, actually, as a secondary gift, someone got this graded for me. Funny enough, this actually came out of my dad's collection when he was a kid.
So the card is just priceless.
You can't hear my heart beating.
Value.
Just know that I said you can't hear my heart beating on camera
because there's a lot of stuff between his heart.
But know that it's beating louder because that's
it's not the high blood pressure.
And
moving on.
And yeah, the last one, again, kind of going back to that autograph part of my collection. I actually have a signed business card from Cy Berger, which
that's sweet.
Which he's the Godfather, right? I mean, he is the guy, right? Without him, we're not here where we are now. So
I don't have a pile of 2019 tops right here in front of me.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. So, real quick, Chris, we had a question from Doug in the chat. Do you like Gardenhire as manager?
I don't mind him. I think he's a stopgap, though. I don't think he's when the next opportunity the Tigers get to hoist a trophy or play in a World Series. I don't think he's here.
Best quote of the night. Ben's tiny little black heart just warmed up a little bit. Oh, yes.
Much love to Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Kevin always has good comments. Well, hey, Chris, thanks for being on the show. You're more than welcome to hang out as long as you want. I know it's late where you are, but you had a very interesting story of I've kind of collected up to this point. So what's next? So my last question for you before we leave tonight: what's next for you? What do you see for yourself in 2020 as a collector?
That's a great question. So as I kind of sat down and just kind of got myself ready, I did. So where my collection is now, I only had 2 cards left on my want list. And actually, kind of while I was waiting and getting set up, I actually bought those off eBay tonight. So my want list actually, as of right now, is completely clean except for whatever comes out for the three or four Tiger team sets that I collect for the year. So I don't know. I'm kind of in that spot where kind of need to figure out what's next. I mean, I could just continue to do that, right? Just pick up the new sets as they come out and enjoy the cards that I have and just kind of roll that way.
Do you have a T206 Ty Cobb?
I do not. I'm waiting for the next
poker tournament.
The next
yes,
black
then your want list is never complete. Welcome to the T206 Eddie Plank household. Yeah. The want list will, and then I find out that there's a caramel Joe Jackson in an athletics. Come on, are you serious? It's never complete. Not until you get there's like 4 different backs on the Cobb, the green back and the red back and brown back or whatever it is. It's
right.
So you need to get another 17 jobs.
Yeah, that's a consideration too. As I thought about is just continuing to bank my my monthly card budget and then just kind of buy some bigger ticket.
Either that or get like another 5 kidneys that you can sell,
or another 5 kidneys.
Well, awesome. Yeah, Chris. So, but thanks for being on tonight. I mean, we really appreciate it. You have a very interesting story about kind of the focus of your collection, having so much, then having to narrow it down, and then continuing that collection. But then you're at a road where it's like, okay, where do I go now? And so we want to continue the story. We'll have you back on hopefully this summer, and we can kind of see where you are and follow up. So we appreciate it. Hang out with us if you want. We know it's late, so if you need to go, but if you want to make fun of Ben some more with us, you're more than welcome to. So thank you very much.
Cool. No, that's cool. Thank you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I think I'll drop off so I have something to look forward to on my way in tomorrow.
All right. Well, and also thanks for supporting the show. We really appreciate it. It's really listeners like you and that make the why we do this. I mean, it was Ben, Steph, and I just talking to each other for a while, and then people started to listen, and it's like, hey, this is awesome, and that's why we want to have you on the show and say, hey, like you're just another collector like the rest of us. So thanks very much.
Yeah. No. Again, it's cool. Like I said, really thanks to you guys and appreciate what you do. I do consume a lot of podcasts and a lot of card collecting podcasts, and I do appreciate what you guys do because I think you do really kind of do represent the voice of the collector. I know someone else has that moniker, but I think you guys really kind of represent collectors as a whole. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and make sure you check out Mike's podcast if you haven't yet. The Sports Card Minute, it's awesome. 15 about the podcasts are 15-20 minutes. And they're really insightful, a little bit different than what we do, and so you should check those out.
And we appreciate the kind words. Now, Voice of the Collector, VOTC, it happens to be Rob Bertrand, a good friend of the show, and literally the reason that we're doing this. So we have no problem shouting out to Rob because he's awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. Kind of like you guys too. I go back to Cardboard Connection Radio too. I think you guys are a great representation of all the best parts of that show. That was
well, thank you.
Program.
We appreciate that very much. All right, have a great night, Chris. Thank you, and we'll hop into the week that was last week's releases. Topps Living Week 97. We had Whit Merrifield, outfielder, Kansas City Royals, sold just over 2,100, and card 278, Sunny Gray Skies, pitcher the Reds, sold just under 2,100. So check out Topps Living stat for full breakdown of where these cards fall, respectively, in the set by team and by position. I was excited. I mean, to see that Whit had the better week. So, That was the only release. Everything got pushed back last week, and then again this week too. It's gonna be a quick one. So hot off the presses, we're gonna hop into this week's new releases. Topps Living Week 98. We have Jeff Bagwell, Hall of Fame first baseman, Houston Astros, and then also card 280. Caleb Smith, pitcher, Miami Marlins. Now, didn't have the picture of Smith here earlier, but here's the Bagwell. Not a bad photo. I think they could have picked one bigger when he had the big beard like Ben, the chin beard that Ben's got going on there. That would have been great. And it's kind of funny that they have him the week of all the stuff with the Astros happened. So I didn't know who Caleb Smith was. I actually had to look up and see if Caleb Smith was a Major League Baseball player. He does play in Miami, so it's a little shaky there. But he started like 20 some odd games last year.
He had a really good year last year, and there's a lot of people because he's got like 4 years of team control left. A lot of teams in the offseason that he was rumored, much like Chris's team, Matthew Boyd with the Tigers, another guy that has a lot of team control left that was attractive just because cost effective.
Yeah. Steph just blowing us up here in the chat. I love it. So 2019-2020 Upper Deck Synergy Hockey actually comes out Friday. We covered this on a previous episode 78, which is December 18th. Got pushed back a couple of times. Finally coming out. Looks like this Friday. We'll hit it real quick. $75 a box, 8 packs, 3 cards per pack. You're going to get 1 exceptional beginning, 6 inserts, and 8 parallels. 100 card base set. There are autographs, but it's not in every box. And the set's really not built on autographs, more of the parallels and the inserts are the exciting stuff there. So check out episode 78, about 15, 20 minutes in, and you'll see that there. We'll hop into what's brewing next week's releases. We're amping up. I'm excited because we're 2 weeks away from one of my favorite releases of the year. But what's brewing next week's releases? 2019 Panini Limited Football drops on drops next week, along with 2019-2020 Panini Crown Royale Basketball. That got pushed back. It was supposed to be this week, got pushed back to next week. 2020 Topps Archive Signature Series got pushed back again, Ben. The mail is still coming in. So it got pushed back. And then 19-20 Upper Deck SP Game Used. Supposed to come out this week, got pushed back again. So it's coming out next week as well. So we'll have hopefully some actual releases to talk about, and they don't all keep getting pushed back because we're running out of dates as now baseball cards are going to start coming out. We'll hop in an Infield Chatter, a Hobby Talk section. Topps Million Card Rip Party. Who's excited? Million cards being ripped in a big giant stadium, and no one can see what's going on. But guess what? Guess what, folks? Stefan is going to be live on location at the Million Card Rip Party. We reached out. Top said, yes, let Steph in. Come on down. And he's going to be able to cover it for us. Hopefully, he'll be able to do some live videos. Our Periscope page we'll have, hopefully, he's going to do it through there, and then we'll end up putting him on the YouTube page. But check it out. I'm excited. Mike, real quick, Ben and I have talked about this previously about the Million Card Rip Party, all the different breakers, and some doing base, and some not sending base, some just sending the rookie base. What are your thoughts on this big party that they're doing for 2020 Topps Series 1?
I think it's cool to try something new. Some people are making a big deal about, a million cards is just showing the overproduction. It's like, I think I figured it up as like 200 cases, and that's nothing for what this print run is going to be. I mean, that the fact that they're going to bust 1 million cards in this event is, to me, not at all, has nothing to do with overproduction. I'm all for trying something different. I think it would have been a little bit cooler if it was a 1 million card rip party and it was open to the public, and you could have a whole bunch of collectors be a part of the event instead of just breakers. But sure, try something different. And now that we know the first couple people that we saw that weren't going to be shipping base was just kind of an anomaly, that wasn't a common or consistent thing across the event. I'm all for it. Mojo shipping base, Blowout shipping base. Most, from what I've seen, are shipping base, which is what Top Series 1 is all about. And so, let's try something different. See how the excitement goes. See what the live stream's all about. When they get everybody together. I'm curious to see what to see how it shakes out. if it's just a bunch of individual streams like you'd see any other time when all these breakers would be breaking stuff, or if there's anything unique or special because it's all, they're all together there in one place. So, yeah, let's see what happens.
Are they sorting and shipping from Texas, or are they bringing like in Mojo's here in the Bay Area in California? Are they bringing all that stuff back and then shipping from their home base wherever they're located, respectively?
I think that probably depends on the breaker. Yeah. I know there's one. I heard one podcast where they are shipping everything from Dallas before they leave, just so they don't have to haul it all back because they're not a local breaker to Dallas. But I'm sure there's some that are doing it different.
Yeah, it's. I think Mojo's bringing it back because when you go to their buying list, I'm thinking about buying the Royals in one of them. It's $100, and they're doing 6 cases for one of the breaks. And I can have the Royals in 6 cases for $100. Like, it's not a bad deal for all those Royals cards.
All about sports cards in the YouTube chat said it's exactly 363 cases of jumbos, and he's got a breakdown of who's breaking what and how they are shipping. So, if he's on Twitter, if you want to hit us up, we'd love to share that information.
Oh yeah, definitely. Or you have a link and put it in the chat. We'll put it out everywhere. So
that way, anybody who's interested, because that's just kind of interesting to see who is shipping what and where they're shipping from, because that's got to be a logistical nightmare. If you're breaking a lot of that, either to have to sort it and ship it from Texas, because I imagine you're going to have to stay a couple extra days, or if you're bringing it back, that's kind of a.
Real quick, I'm reading the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders are actually sorting it. There's a pay-per-view. You can actually watch them sort the base.
That's awesome. Steph should be there. Steph could probably sort all that base for everybody.
Yeah, just turn out the lights and he'll sort it real quick. I saw the man sorting cards in the dark outside one night when we were at the National. There are other witnesses to this. We couldn't see each other's faces. I couldn't see the pizza I was shoving into my mouth. Yet the man's sorting cards over there. I have no idea what the hell he was doing. Crazy.
He really set up like a kissing booth type thing. Like, I will sort your cards like Lucy has, on the Charlie Brown, where it's like they could hire him.
Yeah, and he's like, listen, I just need the Twins the gold parallel set for the Twins, and I'll sort all these base. I can sort a million base cards. Let's do it.
The amount of money that he would work for literally would be peanuts and maybe a plate of nachos.
He's coming. He's like, I'm ready. Let's do this. All right.
And thank you to Topps for being so gracious to allow stuff in, since it's not, as Mike said, open to the public. So for them to allow at least him in, I don't know if there's other people outside.
Or media. As I said, I was like.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
Listen, Mike and I would not be invited in. I'm just going to say there was an incident, maybe Pete Alonso, and Mike and I we're on probation with Topps as media members.
Just because the two of you guys have like like when you don't pay your bill at the Chinese restaurant, they stick up a picture by you guys are like
we're kind of like on this. Certain people are going to have to not work there anymore, and we'll be okay. So it's great. Swedish Fish. You guys like Swedish Fish? They get stuck in your teeth.
Swedish Fish.
So I don't think that, and it's not from this guy, but at GDubs Cards tweeted out, I honestly can't tell you how to react if I received something like this, and it was pretty awesome. Unless you're the guy getting the card, or hopefully the Swedish Fish weren't in there. But it looked like from Facebook, this guy posted this is how my Trey Turner refractor auto came to me, and I wish Jeff was here so we'd have like a veteran guy that knows how to share a screen, but you guys aren't seeing this. It's a Swedish Fish box, and it's got the labels and everything on it, and that's how he received his Trey Turner refractor auto. And like the guy couldn't afford a bubble mailer, he just had gone to the movies. He was like, hey, I have this Swedish Fish box.
Let's reuse, recycle.
Let's do it. Now, if you put that inside of the like a bubble mailer, like that's fun. I've received stuff that's been in a recycled bubble mailer before, which not my preference, but hey, I get it. That's cool. But
yeah, I've never used that kind of stuff as the outside packaging. I'll often cut up boxes and other packages and cereal boxes or whatever to use as kind of cardboard liners and things in my packages to make the cardboard sandwich, if you will, inside the bubble mailers. But I've never used one as the outside package.
Yeah, no. You know, they have free boxes at the post office. You know, but I just like the feedback on that I would give would not be great.
At the end of the day, though, did the card make it there safe? And that's what it really comes down to.
Yeah, and let's hope it did. I think that we would have found out if it probably didn't, but that's a tough one. That's like I always get nervous when I open up a package and there's like a napkin inside or a paper towel because it's like, was this used?
On the inside, recycling, like Mike said, recycling is perfectly acceptable
for packaging.
As long as you're not sharing people's information, so you either need to rip it off or black it out. If you have my information on it, you'd want to get rid of that because that you never know who you're shipping it to, so you don't want to share other people's personal information. But I've had stuffed animals and stuff for the kids or something collectible that we've bought that's super light show up in Twinkie boxes or frozen French toast stick boxes, and I suppose it's not going to get damaged one way or the other, but the tact on behalf of the seller is a little bit questionable at the very least.
Yeah, and I just it just, especially like a candy, right? Like, so there was something sticky and gummy inside, and who knows what happened there, but we'd like to always share those fun things that they come across. 1967. None of us were alive at this point, but a nice set of tops. So at @heritage_sport tweeted out, "We just received this extremely rare find of 67 tops rack packs. They will be part of our April catalog auction." And they ask, my question is I mean, a couple of them were looked pretty sharp on who was in there.
We'll bring it up here. Couple mantle on top, I saw.
Yeah. So there's two mantle. You got a mantle here, a mantle there, mantle Willie and Willie Stargell on the front of one.
That one's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the cards look to be in pretty good shape. And if you had these, my question is, would you buy? Would you sell? I mean, would you keep them? Would you open them? What would you do with them? Oh, there we go. Preview.
I've got to think that I would probably try to sell. We were just talking, I'm trying to eventually work my way back through the vintage sets, but I'm kind of in that mindset of I just want a copy of the set. I'm not worried about them being perfect. And so if the way that some of that sealed vintage sells at a premium, I'd probably take advantage of selling it at a premium and then just buy the set separately.
What would you
do? The unknown of that is highly. It's one of those things. We know we got a mantle and a Stargell in that one, right? So what else is in there? I mean, once you open it, if you get some lower level, unless you're, I'm imagining they're probably not high numbers in there, but the unknown is really what you're banking on, and I think you're going to make a lot more money on that unknown than the known quantities if you open it up. And of course, then there's always the chance that something might get damaged as you're packaging it individually. The idea would be that whoever's buying it is probably either buying it to open it and grade it, or wants to have an unopened rack pack with a mantle on top for that particular one. And then the rest, I would just assume that, you don't know what's in there. So you're probably going to make more money if that's what the auction's ultimately doing.
Yeah, I might sell the mantle Stargell one, but I think the second one with the mantle, I might keep and open and sell all the rest. But I don't know. I mean, just to find those like that, to find rack packs from 67. I mean, I got this shed the other day, and it's a nice rack pack. It's an 89 Donruss rack pack. Nice. But in the middle, an 89 Donruss George Brett. So right here, I've quit my job because I have this rack pack now. So yeah, I'm going to be selling that. It's got Mark Lemke on there too, and Brian Fisher. You can see. So I'm very excited. No, but to just see rack packs from that era, that era, not be open. How were they not, when Mickey Mantle's on the top? How was that not opened?
Yeah,
like that's a lot of like, I either didn't know what I had, or a lot of 40-year-old virgin, like it's better in the package than played with.
It's impressive to see not one, but two of them sitting there.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. And from the fandom and our friend Foul Five Ball says he'd keep it all unopened. We've had that discussion on here in the past. What do you open and what do you keep closed? That older stuff is going to dry up. And I know I've been on the other side of the token with the wax stuff, but that early 50s all the way through the 60s where production runs were lower just naturally. It's tough to see some of that stuff opened. And I know there's a very big breaker out there that opens a lot of vintage. It's tough to see that stuff opened, although at the other side of the token, it's awesome to see it too.
Oh, it is.
Coming out and the condition and
how much would you pay for one of those rack packs? The ones that don't have mantle or star drill or a star on the front. It's three commons. What would you pay to open one of those rack packs?
Mike?
Yeah, I don't know. I was looking on eBay today and I didn't see any normal full rack packs like that. There looked to be several of I think they called them Christmas rack packs. It was like a scaled, slimmed down version. And, those were what, $100 to $200 it looked like, depending on who was on it. I don't know. I probably wouldn't pay much to do it because, like I said, I'm going after the sets themselves, and so
yeah, I mean, you could sell you could sell one of those and probably get a pretty good starter set going.
Yeah,
educated guess though, Mike. What do you think? Kevin Jones in the chat says, "What do you think one of them would go for? $3,500?" Educated guess. What do you think? A buy it now, a fair market worth buy it now for the Mantle Star, not at auction. Just what do you think you put it at?
Yeah, I really have no idea. That's one that I don't have an educated guess on because I've just not ever shopped that.
Yeah,
or
I would
tried
think
to sell anything like that.
Yeah, I would think a few grand. I think $5 or $6 wouldn't even be out of the realm.
You'd want to look at what do you think the condition of that mantle is going to grade at, and then what would be the secondary market just for that one card. And that would have to be your baseline. And then I would probably think I would have to double it, right? If that mantle would grade and sell at $2,000, I think that you'd have to look at least $4,000, knowing that we've got a Stargell on that one pack, not knowing what anything else, and just knowing that if you graded everything in there, you remember when Vintage Breaks opened up the box of Jordan rookies, and everything in there was grading really well. The condition was really good on all that stuff. And he's like, this common right here, grade 10, sells for $1,500 all day long. And it's why people were paying whatever it was, $2,000 a pack, knowing damn well if they don't get a Jordan, you still have a good chance of getting your $2,000 back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So it's interesting to see. We'll have to follow that and see what happens when those sell. Topps is doing a benefit for Australia. They have a special card set to aid wildlife recovery. The wildfires that have ravaged Australia have prompted Topps to try and help the efforts there in the best way it can. So all net proceeds from the sale of the 2020 Topps Benefit for Australia card set will be donated to a charity in Australia focused on helping animals that have been displaced by the fires. There's a quote from Topps: "Australia is one of the most diverse continents on the planet, with rainforests, mountain ranges, deserts, and many endemic species of plants and animals." Nothing, and then it kind of goes on. So they want to conserve Australia's wildlife to a key part of our planet's health. So there's a good article on Blowout by Blowout Buzz that kind of runs through what the set is, and we'll share that link here. But there's 10 animals, and they're the normal size. The set is going to cost you. It's a 20 card set, so there's 10 animals and 10 landmarks. The set's going to cost you $20 on Topps website. The sets will be printed on recycled cardstock, and they will ship free using the Smart Post option, which is a good way to ship. It's pretty quick. Not have to pay for the expedited shipping. But so check it out, and it's they kind of have a throwback retro 70s look to them. So I think it's super nice. Something they're doing to help another country, and there's a lot of collectors in Australia. I mean, I looked at the podcast listening, and we have a I don't know if it's 4 or 5 guys in Australia listening, but it pops up. So I hope the best for them. And, us in Northern California can understand the wildfires and the crazy damage. And you can only imagine with all those animals and what that's doing down there.
Yeah, I'm glad they're doing that. I have actually a family there that had to evacuate because of the fires. And so, yeah, it's I'm glad they're doing something like that, and hopefully it helps make a dent,
Yeah, I do too as well. So sorry about that. I was pulling something up here because our next topic is Zion's debut. What's up, Zion's playing tonight? So I was at the LeBron James debut here in Sacramento, and that was pretty amazing. So we talked about this last week. He was making his debut tonight. The game's almost over. It's in the fourth quarter, about 4 minutes, 20 seconds to go. They're down 7 to the Spurs. But Zion's played 18 minutes, 22 points, 7 boards, and 3 assists. 5 turnovers, though. Only 1 personal foul. He's playing at a plus 3 tonight. So we started earlier at half. He had like 5 points. So he's had a heck of a second half here, and he's played 10 minutes in the second half. So he's doing well. He's probably going to make a lot of people money as somebody sees him. He puts up when you put up 22 in your debut, it's going to get a lot of people excited if you're always there. Last week we talked about 3 cards for Zion to look for. So Prism Base last week sold for about $60. Today I saw a handful of cards going for $70 for his base Prism rookie. His Prism Silvers last week we saw one go for $1,200 raw. Today one went for $550 raw.
Wow.
Now I saw some, so I don't know, like if that was just an anomaly. The one was $1,250 or $1,200 last week to $550 this week, but that's a hell of a pull. And then Contenders rookie ticket. So the only rookie ticket that wasn't a parallel or a short print or cracked ice or anything like that. One last week was sold for $1,380. Not another one is sold yet. There's one ending tomorrow, and it was at $1,325. So pretty close to what it was last week, but and it's still there. You have 21 hours left. So it's about the same price they were selling for last week. He also has a blockchain logo man that's on sale, and it started at $250,000 on Panini's site. It is not sold yet. It's dropped down now to $103,400 and some change $1,000 with a minute to go, and it drops a percentage. So if you have about $100,000, you want a Zion logo man blockchain super duper card with his auto with probably a sticker. It's there for $100,000. So if you want to sell a small house in Alabama and buy this card, then there you go. But so Mike, what do you think Zion's going to do now that he's come out on his debut? He had 22 points. Doug A said he's had 17 points in the fourth. He's going crazy. What do you think this is going to do for his future value in the next week or so?
I think here in the near term, it's probably going to hold about steady where it has been. I mean, guys like this make me crazy. Like, I don't want the guy to do bad. I don't want the guy to be hurt. But I just don't get the prices. I just can't fathom spending this kind of money on a guy that's now played, one game. And so I'm never going to be a buyer of Zion. I'm never going to be somebody who's buying them all up at these prices because I just don't think it's sustainable long term. But I think it's going to be a decent enough debut in the near term to keep things going.
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, with a lot of these baseball prospects, they start going down once they actually start playing in the big leagues.
Yeah.
Regardless of how well they do. So it's hard to say long term. But that's not the game that I play. So
no, and I think you're right. I mean, his base was selling for $60. Now it's $70, $10 for the base silver or the base prism. I think Luka's up to around 100 now. But to be honest, that Luka card before the season started, after his great rookie year, that card was a $20 card all day long.
Yeah.
All day long. And to see where these prices are, and I think that Luka has some health things going in his favor. He's a 3-point shooter versus a guy that doesn't really have kind of has a tweener game like Zion. We'll see, but I'm with you. I'm not spending this money on this guy. If I buy a pack and I pull the card, then yay. But I'm also not paying. I'm not paying the retail price some of these packs are going for. If I find it in a retail store, awesome, because I'm paying the true cost of what that pack is. I'm not going to play the inflated price. I mean, I'm seeing blasters selling for $40 or $50, hanger boxes going for $60, and that's an incredible increase on the product.
I bought my first Zion ever over the weekend. I bought the Prism base. I think I paid $55 for it on Sport Lots, and I bought it because I'm finishing off the set from this year. I ended up buying like 1,000 Prism base in a collection that I bought from somebody who broke a ton. Picked them up for a steal, and so I pretty much had the rest of the set for free and needed the Zion. And so I was like, yeah, I would normally never spend the $55 or whatever. It's a little bit under the going rate that I was seeing on eBay. And so I said, well, I want to finish the set, so I'll go ahead and buy it. But otherwise I wouldn't have been buying just to buy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I bought it when it came out. I built 2 sets. I got a bunch left over. I sold cards to pay for what I purchased, and I walk away with free Zion cards and 2 free complete sets. So happy there. So no, it was interesting to me. We're going to get into blockchain here in a little bit, but I was made aware of this over the weekend, and I didn't even know it was coming out. So there's a Fanatics set, Fanatics exclusive. So I was DMing with Ivan from Go GTS Live, and there's a 2019-2020 NBA Donruss Optic basketball. It's a complete set. It's a Fanatics set exclusively to them on their website, available for $80 with no limit on how many you can buy. I mean, I put 100 in it and said, sure, I could buy 100 of them. And I was like, okay, this is going to cost me $8,000, but I didn't have the credit card, so I didn't pull the trigger. The set included in this is must have a Fanatics exclusive optic. You're going to need the 150 cards printed on exclusive cardstock, 50 rated rookies, and an exclusive 5-card bonus pack of rated rookies with a green wave parallel, and they only are found in that product. So real quick, $80 for a complete set with this rookie class, not a bad deal. They had a free shipping on it going for a while, but I mean, I've heard in the past that Fanatics has tried to get the MLB license, and they tried to get some of these big licenses to actually make cards. It's interesting now that they're having these parallel sets available only on their site. But I mean, we're living and breathing this pretty much daily, guys. Did you know this was coming out or hear any inkling at all?
No, I hadn't heard anything about it. It seems like a pretty reasonable price for a complete set, though, I'd say.
I agree. I mean, to me, it's I kind of limited myself to say, hey, listen, I'm just going to do Prism basketball, but for $80, it makes you kind of question, like, hey, maybe I should get a few hundred of these and see what happens. But I'd probably have to live out in the street because my wife would throw me out. But
it's amazing. I would like to think that when it comes to the entire hobby, and of course we don't know everybody in the hobby, but I'd like to think I'm probably in the upper 1 or 2% as far as being plugged into at least baseball releases. And when I look at some of the stuff that pops up in baseball out of nowhere that I have not heard of, we've talked about the retail only releases, which I know they don't really announce, but even some of the more mainstream stuff that just comes out of nowhere. It's like, wait a minute, how did I miss this? It's amazing when we look across all sports, all the manufacturers, how much stuff just comes out of nowhere.
And you think
it's here now.
You have free advertising. You put something out on Twitter, right, or Facebook, Instagram. There are people that are going to go and take that information and write a quick post on their blog, and they're going to advertise it for free for you. There's idiots like us that are going to sit on a podcast, and we're going to talk about it and give it some pub so people then know about it. And to me, it's crazy. Like,
last year I took the screenshot that Ryan tweeted out from the Topps event that had their release calendar for the rest of 2019. And that was one of the most popular articles and tweets that I had because it was kind of laying it out. I reached out to Panini to ask if they had something similar. I said, hey, I just did this for Topps, got a lot of publicity. A lot of people really liked it. I'd love to do something similar to write up what you guys have coming out. Crickets. No, we can't give you that. No, sorry.
Why not?
There's nothing we can do. Things might change. I'm like, things always change. Things always. No one's.
We can put a notation in there. Dates and products may change.
Right. Everyone knows that things get pushed just because everybody knows it. Yeah, it's March, and you're telling me what your plan to release in October is. We know that things might change, but nope, wouldn't even give me the time of day. Pretty much told me to take a hike. We're not doing it. And so it's like I'm trying to give you guys free advertising, right? Free publicity, but. Hey, that's what Panini does. I don't get it. Like,
I feel like it's all some cloak and daggers. And
so our buddy Ryan Cracknell released early photos of Stadium Club this week, right? And one of the pictures in his article is the Mark McGwire. And I mean, I think I mentioned this on last week's show, if I'm not mistaken. It was like, that's the best card of the year. Baseball cards haven't even come out yet, and it's already going to be the best card of the year. And I literally was telling my dad, we need to start saving our money now. That product comes out in June because I need all the parallels. And I know some of the lower print run parallels are going to be super expensive and sought after.
I hope they Photoshop it and it's a Cardinals uniform now.
Son of a gun. But when you look at stuff like this, it's like, not only, as Mike said, is it free publicity, it's free marketing, it's free advertising. It gets collectors excited about this. Look, Panini such and such. When is National Treasures coming out? Oh, it's in June. Okay, well, Stadium Club is coming out. So now maybe Ben has to start looking at his budget a little differently for the month of June because I know I'm going to want to allocate so much of my financial resources towards Stadium Club. But there's a competing product, it would be nice to know, as opposed to when you go to Blowout or wherever you get your release calendar information and you're looking at your sport of choice and there's certain products that are on there. And then, as those months get closer, other products are going to pop up. It's like, just throw it out there. Everything in life is subject to change. Yeah. Gas prices are subject to change. There'll be $3 here in California in the morning and $3.05 by the afternoon at the exact same gas station. Things change. We understand that.
Yeah.
And know what's going on.
Yeah. And, it got me to go in and reach out to my distributor and say, hey, can I get some, Stadium Club? And hopefully I'll be getting, I ordered somewhere I haven't, that wasn't a product I was looking to go after this year just because of some of the photos and some of the stuff I saw. And I was like, normally I'll pick up a box or two just by myself, but now it's like, hey, I want to maybe break this and then see what happens. So it's just interesting. I just wish that some of that it's an easy share. It takes someone 25 seconds to put out a tweet with a link to some photos and hey, this set's available. Check it out. It's just strange to me. Stay away at Del Space Franco. Mark Del Franco on Twitter sent a question. What sports card set won't you go near? And there were some interesting responses. Ryan Cracknell, our buddy, said 88 Donruss. Heavy J, who is a big Doc Gooden collector, said the star sets from the mid-'80s, and I think Doc Gooden has a handful there. John Newman of Sports Card Nation said Topps flagship. So now he's blocked.
John.
He's kicked out of the podcast friendship. I'm going to have to redact my the interview I did with him, some months back. And then Drew Smalley said unlicensed cards. And there were a handful of others. I just kind of went through and picked a handful of what some folks said there. But, Mike, are there any card sets that you will, like, just as a set in general, as you're just, like, looking the other way?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. And I would say Leaf, I've never bought a Leaf product sealed. I've picked up a couple singles here or there, but I've never bought a single Leaf product in its current incarnation.
Modern day, right?
Yeah, modern day Leaf. Not from the stuff when we were growing up, but under current ownership and its in its current iteration. I've never bought a Leaf product. Second is probably Panini baseball. I'll occasionally get some Donruss, but there's no way that I'm touching any of the pricier stuff from Panini on baseball.
Ben, is there anything you're staying away from?
No. There's nothing.
If it has an A's player on it, you're going after it.
If it says Oakland, I don't care. Unlicensed. The only stuff that I'm not really in tune with, I guess if there's anything, would be more along the lines of like Panini Elite Extra Edition, which is more, the minor league stuff of players who may or may not make. I didn't get Panini Extra Elite this past year. All the base were numbered out of $9.99, and it just was one of those things like, hey, if I come across it, great. If one of you guys were to open it and say, hey, I've got some, do you want some? That would probably get me. There's like 5 base, I think. If somebody handed me 3 of them, I'd have to go get the other 2. But no, in general, if it's got, I don't care. From 1900 to current, if it's Oakland, I want it. I don't care if it's triple play or if it's transcendent. Anything in between, I've got to have it.
Yeah. So real quick, I found the actual stock that Leaf uses for their cards. It's Post-it stock.
I've got some. I full disclosure, I don't remember who it was. It was probably either Nikki's Sports Collectibles, or it might have been Valley of the Cards. Sent me a Conseco from last year, Leaf base, and I apologize for not knowing off the top of my head who it was that sent it to me. It was a nice card. And so to Mike's point, he doesn't buy Leaf unopened. I'm not really in tune with what Leaf produces. If I come across it, I just bought that 6-player relic from Leaf in the Game a month or so ago because I got the right price on it. And it's like, I want it, but I'm not overpaying. They were selling for like $50 to $70, and it's like, good day, sir. And I got one at $20, and I'm like, $20, a 6-player relic. I don't care if it's manufactured in Brian Gray's garage or trunk out of his car in a local mall or not. I really don't care. Lick him and stick him and send it to Ben's house.
Lick it and stick it, baby.
Yeah, like I said, I've never bought any new, but I do have a couple Leaf cards that I picked up. There's that were in a collection. I said, this is kind of cool. I'm going to go ahead and hang on to it. But yeah, it's not what I'm going to be spending money on.
I'm not. I won't buy unlicensed stuff. Now I've bought into breaks where it's been a mixture of Topps products and some Panini products. So I do have unlicensed cards, and I've made trades with people and have received those cards back, and it's fine. I'm not, because they just look so generic. They look like the serial cards from the 1990s. They look like softball cards to me.
But
all the guys have a
cool.
All the guys have a blue hat. All the guys have a blue hat and a blue jersey and white pants, and it's like it's like, okay, well, that's not exciting. And then also anything that says triple play on it. I don't care from what year it is, 91 or whatever to now. Just no.
You're a hater. You're a hater.
They're still printing triple play 2013 triple play right now.
That was a good open. The eye black that my daughter put on. She had like the Jeter eye black.
And then didn't she get like conjunctivitis from it?
Yeah, we got like 2 Jeters out of the box that Tracy Hackler sent us, and when she pulled it off, it had a big red mark on her eye, and I was
like she got punched. Yeah, who did that to you? My dad. Like what? Wait, what?
So, two things: the 2 worst products in the history of baseball cards. Period.
T206 Topps or T206.
They're not debatable. The 2 worst products are Moments and Milestones and Upper Deck documentary from.
yeah, documentary is terrible.
Card set, and Steph's like. I bought it. I think there are like 3 extra cards, so it's a 165 card team set for the A's. And he's like, but Ben, you have to have the other side. He goes, so if the A's played the Angels in games 1, 2, and 3, you have to have the A's, and then you have to have the Angels because it mentions the A's on their card. And I'm like, dude, I'm not having a 300 plus card set.
Yeah, just no.
But that's what we love about our lovable buddy. Steph would have to have them all, even if one of them said something about, such and such player used to play for the Twins. He's got to have it.
Speaking of stickers, blockchain stickers are out there. So at KY_sports cards, Kentucky Sports Cards tweeted out auto stickers on blockchain. There's a dual logo man of Morant and Rai Hashimura with stickers. So I went and found how much this card sold for. It sold for $3,510.21 on blockchain. And it has stickers, sticker autos. It's not even on card. I'm going to pull it up here. I couldn't believe that a card of this magnitude, something they promoted that, hey, it's this awesome new stuff. And take a look. I have stickers on my autographs. And by the way, Hashimura is an exclusive Panini signer for all of his stuff. And the dude has, it looks like a lowercase cursive L as his name. Well, it's a dual logo man, National Treasures, blockchain auto, and their stickers.
Yeah. No thanks.
I just don't get it. I'd be so disappointed from the pictures they show when you go to the blockchain. It looks like it's on card, the digital version, and then the stupid thing the card has stickers on it. I don't find that acceptable. I would reach back out and say, hey, I don't want this shit. I want my money back. Put it back up again. I mean,
I want no part of that.
Yeah. So
I don't know how Mike feels about blockchain in general, but I think it's the worst idea since the last worst idea that they had. And then you go and blow a high-end product like this. It's like, and I know Panini loves their little sticker autos because you don't have to put the effort into really getting a player to sign it in real life. But man, if you're going to have a high-end product like this and it's going to be something you're super trying to get out there, and I'm sorry, I would gladly never have another Panini checklist on time for this product on blockchain just to go away.
I like the whole idea of trying something new with blockchain as a whole, but I think this is pretty lame to have sticker autos when you're 101 national treasure, whatever you want to call it. High-end exclusive.
This would be like if you went to the dealership, right, and you're going to go buy that brand new Mercedes-Benz. It's got all the bells and whistles, and you roll out and you get inside, and it's got cloth seats, like from like a 89
or
Dodge
vinyl.
Caravan.
More like
your
vinyl
windows down manually.
Oh yeah, or the windows, or it's got manual windows and locks, and you're like
AM only radio.
Yeah.
And it's not even AM only, like where you it's like the one where you've got to spin the dial in order to.
Yeah. So it's not good. I want to get into some fun stuff. So the 2020 Hall of Fame was announced yesterday. Derek Jeter, the shortstop of the New York Yankees, got 99.7% of the vote. One guy named Doug Williams did not vote for Derek Jeter. And then also Larry Walker, outfielder from the Expos, Rockies, and Cardinals. He received 76.6% of it. He was his 10th year on the ballot. He got in. And then also Ted Simmons. He was the catcher for the Cardinals, Brewers, Braves. He was in earlier from the Veterans Committee. So I wanted to kind of go over real quick. I think that we're going to talk about some guys we think that should be in the Hall of Fame that aren't. I think we kind of all of us kind of went a little bit different way. We'll talk about it, but I want to talk about the some of the best. I picked 3 rookie cards of these guys, and Ryan for Beckett, Ryan Cracknell had a story about them, about Jeter's rookie cards, and he lists the 3 top ones is the 93 SP, the 93 Stadium Club Jack Murphy, which was a special edition that came like in a little stadium set, and then 93 Bowman, Larry Walker's Sports Collectors Daily. I'm sorry. Put out a list of Larry Walker rookie cards to go after. Their top 3 were the 90 Bowman Tiffany, the 90 Topps Tiffany, and 90 Leaf. Larry kind of is in a bad spot in the 1990s. That year did not have like the best releases. Jeter kind of hits with some specialty releases. They were bringing out some, I would say, some better or more innovative product, especially with SP. Having that card in that set, it was kind of like having Griffey's the number 1 card in 89 Upper Deck. It was a hell of a leadoff. Do you guys have any of these ones, or is it, now that they're in the Hall of Fame, does it now make you want to have one of them in your collection? I know Ben's answer, but Mike?
No, I don't believe I've got any of them at this point, and no, I probably won't try to go out and get some. I've got several Walkers and several Jeters in my binder, but I'm not overly concerned about tracking down those specific cards.
Do you think it has any effect now that these guys are in the Hall of Fame? You think it might affect their overall value of their cards? Like we might see a little bump over the next few weeks.
I think there's a general increase in demand. I'll find even in my quarter boxes at the shows, I'll have some of these Hall of Fame guys when they get in there. I'll start pulling them and setting them aside, and I would have never been able to sell a Larry Walker card here in Central Illinois. But now that he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, I can stick him in my quarter box, and there'll be people who buy him because he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And so I think in general, there'll be a slight bump. I don't know how much of a bump there'll be on his higher end stuff, but it'll increase overall demand.
Well, and look at it this way. I mean, everybody knew for, the last 7-8 years of Jeter's career that he was a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. So let's say you have somebody that's got a Hall of Fame based PC. They might all of a sudden want Larry Walker. He spent 9 years on the ballot up to this year as a non-Hall of Famer. So then all of a sudden in his 10th and final year, he gets in. To Mike's point, if I collect Hall of Famers, now I want to add a few of his cards to my PC, depending on what it is, right? Whether it's just rookie based or just some cards in general, maybe a page of Larry Walker. I probably already have plenty of Jeters if that's my PC of choice, because I know, but overall, yeah, you'll see a slight bump probably for the next couple of weeks. Somebody out there trying to grab some this, that, and the other thing. People flooding the market with Jeter 93s.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you didn't want it yesterday, you don't want it today.
Yeah, the 93 SP Jeter has always been one of those like cards that's like, hey, if you wanted to have, like, if you're a rookie card collector and you're going to collect one rookie card of Jeter, like that was your go-to card. And it's always had a premium on it no matter what. And then knowing he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. My favorite thing, someone tweeted out that why Derek Jeter is actually a Hall of Famer. It had all of the girls he's dated as a team. I just want to hit this really quick. So in left field, you had Mariah Carey, center fielder Jessica Alba, right fielder Jessica Biel, third base Vanessa Milano, at shortstop Scarlett Joe, at second base Adriana Lima, at first base Jordana Brewster, pitching was Hannah Davis, DH was Tyra Banks, and behind the plate Minka Kelly. I'm just dying. I'm like, dude, like the man was not only a Hall of Famer on the field, but dating it off the field. I mean, you have models, you have singers, you have actresses. I mean, he ran the whole gamut. I mean, Timberlake's wife is on here.
He's a good-looking dude. He's a New York Yankee. He's a New York superstar. He's the shortstop, no less, and he's making $20+ million a year. I mean, the guy had it all, right? I mean,
from
of
Kalamazoo,
he's going to date every starlet because that's what you do.
Yeah, and it's funny too is that the Astros, they had the first pick that year and they took Phil Nevin because they didn't think they could sign or get Jeter to sign with them. And there was a whole story about a couple years ago about the scout that was scouting and was like, dude, this is the guy. Nevin was a great college player. Was like, I think he was the Golden Spikes winner and had all this pedigree, but they're like, no, Jeter's the guy. And they just didn't think that it would work out because he was going to go play at Michigan, I think. So the Yankees grabbed him, and that's history, right? Sometimes it just works out that way. But let's hop into the best player not in the Hall of Fame that should be. Now, I said when I asked these guys, I always ask for one name, right? Ben just couldn't do that because it's just Ben's way. Mike gave me one name because he's he can read and he understands But so Mike, if you want to go more than the one guy, awesome. So who's your one guy that you had listed? And if you want to name a couple others, we're good there.
Yeah, my one guy based on the on-field performance and his overall contributions is Pete Rose. I think that with what he did, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know, the whole betting on the team, obviously, and lying about it. Well, all of that kind of stuff. That's not great. But as a player and as a player manager, I think his results were too strong to not have him in the Hall of Fame at some point. I'm okay if we wait until he dies so he doesn't get the satisfaction of it like some others have done and get him in that way. But at some point, he needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Anybody else you want to mention?
No, I'm good. Sticking with Pete. I want to hear what some of Ben's thoughts are.
Yeah. So we're gonna give Ben the next 15 minutes to talk about his.
No. First off, I'm a big proponent for both Rose and Shoeless Joe. I thought in DMs we were having a private conversation when Tim's like, "Hey, biggest Hall of Fame snub," and I had said basically no Pete Rose, nobody on the ban list. Nobody currently on the eligible list, right? So it's got to be somebody that fell off.
These were your rules. I put up a question.
I thought we were conversing about what we wanted the segment to look like.
Oh no, I'm just telling you what I wanted because that's how it is.
I thought we were conversing like we were going to have a couple of names, like if we were writing an article for The Athletic, right? I thought, okay, let's have a couple of names that we can debate. So I threw a handful of names out, and then next thing I know, that's my list. So.
Yeah. Real quick, this is not me tweeting or putting this in the message board. I did not say Justin Morneau. By the way, isn't he like the president of Canada or something? Anyway,
who knows? I've never heard of her. There's been some good names. We mentioned Lou Whitaker earlier when Chris was on. I think that he in his mid-70s WAR, like 74 WAR, if that's your cup of tea statistically. Dale Murphy, Dave Parker, if not for the drugs, would probably be in. I thought the Veterans Committee was going to have him in. I would have said Ted Simmons if he had not been part of it, the Veterans Committee this year. Fred McGriff, Mark McGuire. Obviously, I'm a big McGuire honk. But I think all those guys merit consideration, all of which have fallen off of the ballot, so they're not currently eligible or their Veterans Committee eligible. I think Parker eventually gets in. I think McGriff might eventually get in via Veterans Committee. Whitaker probably gets in.
Well, if those idiots let Harold Baines in, shit, might as well just let everybody in.
Mark Armour,
get into it.
Mark Armour on Twitter had a very similar conversation today about people such as Marvin Miller who had an impact on the game that don't necessarily either played or another name that he had mentioned was Curt Flood, that statistically does not merit consideration because he wasn't good enough for the Hall of Fame from a player perspective.
Well, that's kind of like Dick LeBeau in the NFL. He got in as a player and as a coach. They kind of combined, everything he did together and said, look at what he did as a whole in his football life. And he gets in. You put him in as a contributor, not as a player.
And that's kind of, I think, where Mark Armour was going with it. I forget who all he had on the list. Curt Flood was obviously the one that jumps out. But much like Marvin Miller, who's going to be inducted this year, there are certain people who have had such an impact on the game who may not have been a manager or a player. Curt Flood obviously was. He had a good career. Wasn't phenomenal. Had some good years in the 60s before the whole free agency thing. But then, you could also, do you put Messersmith and McNally in? Probably not, just because they happen to be the first ones in 74. But Curt Flood deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame somewhere.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Marvin Miller bump or the Hall of Fame bump real quick, one of my buddies bought up a bunch of Marvin Millers and several of the other people that were on the ballot in advance of the announcement. And once he was elected, cleaned up. The value of Marvin Miller cards skyrocketed because there's only a handful of them out there. Right. And so people went crazy trying to get them because there is a Hall of Fame collector market.
Oh no, definitely. I picked three guys, and Dale Murphy's one. I still, I still don't get it. Like for a decade, like we talked about with Chris, was Bill Freehan. He was the catcher of a decade in the American League. Like he was the standard, and that doesn't make sense to me. And Murphy again, Ben's talked about being good versus he was good, not great, or great, not good, and he was great for a few years, and then besides just being kind of average throughout, but he at one point, I mean, he won back-to-back MVPs. I mean, he was all. It drives me crazy. Bonds and Clemens, they both got a bigger bump than I thought. And for a while, they were trending. If you follow the ballot Twitter, and they were trending towards. I think that we see them get in the next year or two. I think maybe year 10 they get in. You have guys like Ken Rosenthal that will always vote for Bonds. I mean, he said this, and he's like, why he won't vote for other guys. So it's just kind of crazy. So we'll see there. I want to get into what are the worst teams to collect, and it was awesome. Ben said one team tonight. So what? And I didn't even say sport. But I just said, what is the worst team to collect as a collector? So you're going on collecting, and so Ben, what is the worst team to collect in your mind? If you had to be a collector of.
Yeah, no, I stuck with baseball only because that's what I collect, so I'm more familiar with that. I'm sure there's a hockey, I'm sure there's basketball and football, but for me it'd be the Tampa Bay Rays, and I know they've got a limited run because they've only been around for 30 years. They really only have one superstar in Evan Longoria, and I don't know how collectible ultimately he is in the hobby, long term. And then because they're very similar to my Oakland A's, they don't keep their guys a long time. They're not there for a decade. The difference between the A's and the Rays are the Oakland A's have the history. So they've got Jimmy Fox and Chief Bender and Eddie Plank, a lot of big names from pre-war. And then, of course, they've got Hall of Famers throughout, Reggie Jackson and Fingers and Henderson, and then popular players that are borderline Hall of Famers like Canseco and McGuire. So the A's have so many guys that the Rays are not blessed with because they just don't have that pre-90s history. And they're in a small market, and they're just kind of that other team. They've had a lot of success, and they do very well with their small payroll on a baseball scale. A lot of respect for that franchise and what they accomplish year in, year out. But from a collectability standpoint, who do you get excited about? And you get 2 or 3 years before this guy turns into 6 years or 10 or 12 years, the Delman Young tree that still is giving because they just keep trading their guys for more and more guys and more team control. That sucks as a collector. I can speak to that as an A's fan. Again, we have the history, and there's a lot of guys we can collect beyond current players.
I think there's a few Tampa fans that are excited about that Wander guy.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing is once Wander ends up coming up and he has 2 or 3, let's assume that he turns out to be a really good player. Do they end up signing him to an Acuna-type extension for 8 years? Or do they end up turning him into 3 prospects, 18 years of team control, and then they turn those guys in 3 or 4 years into more team control? And that's how Tampa Bay survives. That's how they win 90 games all the time. But as a collector, and right now Wander Franco's so darn expensive, how the hell can you really collect him? Speculators are ruining that for Rays fans.
Yeah. So I agree with you. But Bean said, hey, they're the best team to collect. And I think it's probably because you could go out and collect. There's no one to battle with except for on a guy like Wander Franco, and you could build up everything pretty quickly. He said you could put together the best Rays collection for about $100. I mean, there's probably a few cards, but yeah, you could get caught up real quick on all their cards. And don't forget, you got to collect Delman Young and David Price, right? So
Josh Hamilton.
Yeah. Mike, who's the team that you think would be the worst team to be a collector of?
So I went after it more from the angle of who would it be the most frustrating to try to be a favorite team or have my favorite team who to track down, and I went with the Expos. And I went with the Expos because they don't have a team anymore. And so if you grew up as an Expos fan, you're kind of cut off from any new product coming out. There's only so much of the past product that you can track down. I mean, I guess there's a little. You see Ryan Cracknell get so excited anytime an Expo player makes an appearance in the living set or something like that, it would just be really frustrating to me, I think, to be an Expos fan and be kind of limited on what cards you're going to be able to have of your favorite team. And so that's kind of why I picked them. I think there's that trade-off of, if you're a fan of a team from one of the less popular sports, there's that trade-off of less popularity equals less competition, but at the same time, it also equals less supply of the cards you're trying to find. And so, I don't know. I think there's a give and take on both sides.
Yeah. I kind of went a different way, and it kind of ties in tonight, was the New Orleans Pelicans. You came as a transplanted team, as the Charlotte Hornets, and you were the New Orleans Hornets for a while, and then you were the Oklahoma City Hornets for a while, and you came back, and then you became the Pelicans, and you gave the name back. And you had Chris Paul there, but then he left, and then you had Anthony Davis, and then he left, and then all the guys on your team now, all their rookie cards, the cards you want to go after, they're all on different teams, and then you have Zion, who's outstanding, right? You got the number one pick and all, but you look and his cards are already priced out of the market to be reasonable. And so that to me is, and the fact is, your team might move in a couple of years, right? It might relocate and become Seattle, or it might be relocate and become Kansas City. Like I'm telling you, like I've said, New Orleans and Memphis are both in one of those two cities in the future. So that's the tough one to collect. Yes, Chris, you're welcome to hour 3, bud. We need to have you on the show. I want to talk to you about that, Chris. Hit me up, because I forget all the time, and I want to talk to you before Flagship comes out. Have you on the show. So Mike is here. Mike's a sport lots guru, and he's going to give us, and I know Ben's talked about this before, but Mike sells a lot on sport lots, and he's talked about this on his podcast. He's talked about it with Ryan on his podcast. And so if you have time, you guys did a dual podcast, kind of was a long interview. You split it up over the two.
Yep.
I had to drive up this past weekend up to my in-laws house, which is an hour each way. Listen to it there and back, and it was awesome. Made my drive super quick, and I appreciate that. It was amazing. So
yeah, no problem.
Give us a little history, like what is Sport Lots? Yes, sir.
Just real quick, before you have Mike go into this, I'm going to have to listen tomorrow. I do have something else going on this evening after hours. I have an early meeting tomorrow at work, so I've got to get in bed fairly early, and I know Mike is up later.
Well, it's hard for you because you have to get on that step stool to crawl into the bed, right?
It's like 8 steps too, because my bed's only like five inches off the ground, and I need like a booster. But I appreciate Mike's time this evening, stepping in for Steph, and I'm sad.
I think it was better.
Always fun,
right?
It was way better. Other than the Midwest Bureau being jerks this week and trolling me as like a triple tag. But that's a conversation for another day.
Card polls, man.
Fans. But thank you to Mike. Thank you to Chris Anderson. I appreciate all his insight and his support of the show. And everybody in the chat. I'm going to say goodnight early, and I will catch up with because I love Sport Lots, and I think Mike's fantastic. So anyhow, Mike.
Sweet dreams.
Absolutely. Love you,
now
sweetheart.
The show's about to get a whole lot better. We got rid of Steph. Now we got rid of Ben.
All right.
This is what the show should be.
There we go.
And then in one of the little corners up here, if we could get Bo, to float around in the corner.
Kind of bouncing around back.
Just sorting his million Cubs cards. So let's talk about like a little bit what is Sport Lots. Kind of give us an idea of the site, and then I have some more questions for you to follow up with that.
Yeah, sure. So Sport Lots is a site that I found when I returned to the hobby back in 2015, because as we've talked about before, I am a set collector at heart. And so I found Sport Lots because it was a place that had all of the base and inserts that nobody carries anymore.
I heard you guys.
I can't. Who's?
I don't. Hey, Steph. I brought Steph, and he hopped in, but it's a little mute. I'm going to mute you up, bud.
So anyway, I found Sport Lots because it's a site that had all the base and inserts that the hobby shops in our area weren't carrying. And so sellers can go on and list inventory for sale. It's a minimum of 18 cents a card, but all the way up to expense. So there are some expensive cards on there too. But there is a giant database inventory of cards that span all eras of the game, all decades of the game. I really like it as a buyer because I can find those cards that aren't necessarily in your hobby shop. And I really found that I liked it as a seller because I was picking up big bulk collections of base and inserts, and this gave me an outlet to sell them, generate some funds, which kind of help offset the cost of my PC and add a little extra revenue. And so I started with just a small, a few hundred, couple thousand cards. Gradually over the last couple of years, built that up to over 130,000 cards that I've got listed on the site now, and it's been fantastic for me. The design of the site is still it's a bit dated, but from a functionality perspective, it's been really good for me.
That's good.
Well, and if the function, how's this?
Yeah, you sound great, bud. Welcome in.
Okay, headset worked. No, I mean, if the functionality is from 1998, but it gets you the results, who cares?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I have some reservations, but that's outside of the realm of the topic. But no, I mean, as long as you can list that you have all 500 of these, all 800 of these, 20 of these, 30 of these, and they all sell eventually.
So
it's a passive income
organization
source.
Organization is key. You've got to be organized, both to make sure that you've got things listed accurately, but then to also speed your time that it takes to fill orders. And so organization is foundational, but it's been a key component. Like I kind of have the trifecta of sites that I sell on. I've got a segment of things that make sense for me to sell on eBay. I've got another segment of things that I love to send into ComC and use ComC for. And then these common base and inserts, Sport Lots has been perfect for that.
Yeah. And so let's get into some tips on selling on Sport Lots. I mean, as you see, I have this inventory behind me, and it's all organized and neat. And I know, if I need to go find an 87 card number, 425, I can go right back here, grab the box, and find it. You had a great video of your storage thing, which has inspired me to really get my room nice and clean so I can go and do a little quick tour, hopefully this weekend. But what are some selling tips you have for somebody who wants to get on Sport Lots and really make it worth their while to do so? Like, I don't want to hop in there with I don't want to open 5 packs and then list those, the cards from those 5 packs. Like, what is the best way to do it?
Yeah, so you really want a decent size inventory before you kind of put your inventory out there for sale. It's got to be organized, and I've had the most success. The things that will help you start to generate those sales is have a good representation from a particular set, because there are a lot of set collectors that go on there. So if you've only got 5 or 10 cards, 20 cards from a set, it's going to be a little bit harder to generate those sales. Unless, but if you've got 325 of the 350 cards, you're more likely to pick up some sales because people are going to be trying to consolidate things together.
For shipping.
For shipping, to help reduce some of that shipping cost. Another thing that I found success with, especially in some of these big collections, is, there might be 300 of one card listed from several different sellers, but if you've got 20 or 25 of that same card, people will scoop them all up for you, because there are some people who still are player collectors and want to buy their players in bulk. And so I've also had success selling big lots of a single card. And so that's something else that I will do that will have some success from time to time. A thing that helps me generate some of those sales is having competitive shipping costs as well. So my shipping rates are pretty low, and I offer free box shipping, which is kind of a way that buyers can consolidate some of their orders and save a little bit on shipping that way too.
So I have a question now. There's certain sets or sports that that you're more looking to put on sport lots? Like, everybody has 87 tops, right?
Yep.
And so that to me would be like a set that I wouldn't spend the time to list and put on there, even though maybe I had 10,000 of them.
Yeah.
Because so many people are going to have that. Versus like if I had 96 tops or 98 tops, where this generation of collectors in our age had probably maybe walked away from collecting at that point. Yep. There was less production. Yep. It's a little harder to find. Is that something that you look for when you're listing stuff on there, or do you just list it all and say, hey, let's see what happens?
For the most part, So even though I said there's things that you can do to help make your cards a little more visible, you're still better off if you can find some of the products or some of the sets that have a little less competition. And so for sure you can go and see how much is out there for those sets like 87, 88, 89, 90. The only cards that I'll usually list is the stars or the key rookies. If I've got some of those, I will put those out there. But hockey sells pretty well because there's not as much competition. NASCAR sells well for me. Wrestling sells well for me because there's just not as much competition. As far as baseball goes, Heritage is probably one of my top sellers because there's so many Heritage set collectors out there. And so Heritage always does really well for me. And then in general, inserts and parallels do really well for me too.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so I heard you talk about that before. And is it worth your time and effort to because when you go on there, you basically have to type in like it has all the cards listed by number and stuff, but you have to go in and say, hey, card 17 I have 3 of, and card 19 I have 4 of. All the time and effort to sort and organize the cards.
Yep.
Then to go through and count and list. And then to go and pull and sell and ship. Have you found it's worth your while to do this?
Yeah, and I think part of that depends on your overall perspective, right? Because it is time. It does take time and effort, that's for sure. And it is gradually built over time, right? So I look at it a couple different ways. And first of all is I love messing with cards and playing with cards anyway, right? So part of the time of sorting and listing and everything, I'm just enjoying going through these cards. Second, I get a lot of enjoyment out of the entrepreneurial aspect of buying and selling and flipping, and knowing that I'm using some of the money that I'm getting from this to cover the cost of my own collection and essentially build my own collection for free. I get a lot of enjoyment out of that process as well. And so I'm getting to do cards, which I enjoy. I'm getting to do a little bit of business, entrepreneur type stuff, which I enjoy. And so I'm getting enjoyment out of it. And then from a financial perspective, it's grown from making 30 or 40 bucks a month early on to now where I'm consistently clearing $400 to $600 a month from these sport lots cards. And so that's kind of for me, that's worth it. For other people, it may or may not be worth it. But I've been real happy with turning cards that I'm buying for a penny or less than a penny a piece into $400 to $600 a month.
Yeah, and I think we've talked with it, which is awesome. I think we've also, you and I have talked a lot on Twitter and about how setting up at shows and stuff and how successful that's been. And organization is key in all this. I mean, Chris Torres says if you're not organized, you shouldn't be selling on eBay, much less the beast known as sport lots.
Right.
And that's the thing is
organized.
Organized. And it's crazy to me sometimes that the people try to do that and they're just not there. And there's a lot of ways to take stuff you don't want and sell it but other people will buy it. And I think a few more collectors are getting behind Mike's train of thought of self-sustaining hobby. And, I think when Ryan said you should trademark it, I died because I was like, dude, that is the smartest idea. Because it makes sense. It's like, it's basically like trading back in the day when we were kids. Like, I don't want these Minnesota Twins cards, but I know Steph does. And I know he doesn't want the Royals cards, but he knows I do. And so then we can go here. And it's the same thing with, here, you buy this pile of cards from me. I'm going to take this money and buy this pile of cards for me. And then we're happy because guess what? I got these cards were free to me because of other sales and stuff I've made. Oh,
it's been fantastic. Like,
Isn't it fun?
The things that I've been able to build, like I would have never forked out the cash to complete all the sets from the 70s that I did last year and starting to work on the 69 set that I've got now. I wouldn't have, the binders full of some of the stars and the Cubs of yesterday and today. And I wouldn't have any of this stuff if it wasn't for me generating some of this extra income from buying and selling and flipping stuff, and really kind of that combination of really, like I say in the podcast, like combining the business side and the hobby side together to truly build a collection that you'll love. And it's been fun.
It's so much fun because Series 2 is dropping in 2 weeks. I'm getting I've been lucky enough to be able to, last year's Series 1 and last year's update, I got a jumbo case of each. Paid for just with pure profits of stuff I've sold.
Yep.
This upcoming one, I'm getting a case of hobby and jumbo.
Yep.
Just off doing shows and selling on eBay. And it's allowing me, then I can pull out what I want out of it. Turn around and have more inventory now to sell and newer product, and I'm able to do these things. And I really just started this. I got this idea, and it was like, I was watching you. I think when I first really got the thirst for it, you had done your first show, and you'd shown your video, and Ken Kinsley was talking about it, and Colin had his podcast and was talking about Bank 2019 your best year, and all these things kind of came together. And it's like I have all this inventory in my house.
Yep.
I'm not going to throw it away. I've pulled out the stuff I want for my collection, my Royals or whatever I'm collecting.
Yep.
But somebody else is going to want this stuff. So why don't I put it out there and then take that money and make it work for me, make that inventory work for me. And it's been amazing. And tonight, after we get off the podcast, I have like 10 orders on eBay today to ship out tomorrow morning. And I can't wait to do it because I love when my phone does that little ching.
Yep.
When I sell something on eBay. Or you get that alert from Sport Lots, hey, you have a message, you got to go ship stuff, or you're going and checking out, or you go to your ComC account, and there's all of a sudden just money in there, and you didn't do anything but have cards listed. And then you go, hey, there was a card I was watching on ComC. I have the funds to go buy it now, swooped up. I sold a bunch of stuff I didn't want, and I can pick up this, whatever it is. And so it's fun.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and you talk about, like, for me, that whole. So I still limit myself to only buying cards that I can pay for from sales that I've made, my PayPal balance that I've built up from sales and all of that type of thing. But the 130,000 cards on Sport Lots, my 35,000 plus cards on ComC, all the 2,000 whatever items I've got for sale on eBay, and my entire personal collection has been paid for with profits. Like, I've got zero money in my entire collection. And for me, like, with the enjoyment of that entrepreneurial aspect, I get a lot of enjoyment just out of that fact alone, right? And I don't have that financial pressure of, I don't. My card budget is literally how much can I sell this month, and that's I don't know. I get a lot of enjoyment out of that piece too.
No, so two things real quick. One, at least for me, it's kind of extra dangerous seeing, okay, here's everything that I've uploaded to ComC and Sport Lots and whatnot. And then I go to work and see more cards all day long. Mm-hmm. Well, hey, make a mental note that I need to pick up this, or make a mental note that I need to go grab that off eBay, or, hey, here's a set that I didn't know about that I need to go see if there's Twins cards for it. But two, I was going to ask, as you were talking about all of the collections that you bought, do you find it easier to sell a bit more of the mishmash collections, or stuff that is more newer sets, like, say, 2019 stuff?
I think it is a combination of two. On Sport Lots, the new stuff sells quicker, just because it's the stuff that's more recent and in demand. But I still sell stuff from the 80s and the 70s and things like that on there too. For my shows, a big part of what I have in the shows that does well is my quarter boxes and it's full of Cal Ripken and Bo Jackson and George Brett and Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds and
well, you need to let me know how
Jeter
many
and all
George
those
Brett you
guys.
have.
I think I sent you that about 1,000 of them sometime this summer. You cleaned me out pretty good when I
So whatever else you've come across, you just let me know and just tell me the total. The money is on your way.
All right, sounds good. And so a lot of those big collections, I'll piece together that kind of stuff. There, it really is just all depends. And then ComC has been great for the random serial numbered cards and some of those other types of things that there's not a local demand for my shows. It's too one-off to put on sport lots because I won't go and start listing things one-off. I'll need a block of things from a set before I'll list it on sport lots. And so I use ComC for all of that type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And selling on ComC, I think they even recommend now you want to make sure the card's going to sell for $1 or so more. Then you don't want to send
that seems to be the sweet spot.
Quarter cards in
$1 to 20 or 20 and up. It is a nice sweet spot between all of the fees and what with now the eBay listings as well. That just seems to be their sweet spot for what you should send in.
Yeah, especially if you're just getting started.
I mean,
yep.
2 recommendations that I've noticed: don't send in anything between 88 and 92 unless you have something ultra variation-y, something that somebody might want. And don't send in any of the e-pack cards because we get a ton of them from people that buy e-pack boxes, and those are instantly listed in inventory for like 10 cents.
Yeah. Real quick, fellas, Mike, I appreciate the lesson there. I think we could do a broader show, maybe a standalone show one day with just a bunch of different sellers and talk about it. I think that would be a great one to have.
Maybe people
during the
with
show,
podcasts.
Maybe during the show, Buzz Blowout tweeted out pregame, start of game in fourth quarter, and now prices of Zion cards. So it looks like and this looks like it comes from ComC. So pregame, he was at 87.75. The start of the game, he was up to 97 and a quarter. Fourth quarter, he was at 110 for a Prism base on Zion on ComC. So we're talking in a hour and 2 hour period. The card jumped. What is that? 25, almost $25.
Feeling better about my $55 purchase to finish off that set.
Yeah. No, not a bad turnaround.
Friend of the show, Cardboard Icons, makes his money back.
Yeah. My what's funny is we talk about that is that I was told you about picking up Lucas for about $20. Mm-hmm. My OCS, I was in there the other day and I was telling him, I was like, yeah, man, I remember when I was buying I bought that Prism complete set from you last year set for $40, and I was buying those Lucas for $20 a piece. And the words he said I can't say back because they're not appropriate. But he was like, I thought it was a great. He goes, I made money off that. Yep. So, but you did really well on it, and it was just because I just it was a feeling that was just like, buy a blaster, buy the Luca, and see what happens.
Right.
And I have, so it's one of those things like, sometimes you get lucky, or sometimes you end up buying Jose Cruz Jr. and it doesn't work out. So anyway, I just thought that was funny. I saw that come across while we were on the show, but we're going to head out tonight. I mean, almost a 2 hour show. So I know Uncle Rich is going to get mad. It's a long show, but we had Mike on. I mean, come on now. It's,
well, he can't complain to me. So watch out. He's going to come after you guys.
That's fine. I'm okay with it. Make sure remember we're live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific,
10 Central.
On YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and review on all platforms. We appreciate it. We're at 400 subs on YouTube. We hit that today. Somebody sent me a message. Hey, you can go and basically buy some subs if you do these things. I don't want that. I want it to be a natural number, right? I want to know who's watching. I want to, I want the views to be true and honest. Because to me, it's like, okay, if we hit 1,000, I can put commercial. I don't care. I want people to enjoy. I'm not doing this to make money because I'd be dumb. I mean, it's just not. That's not for me. Now, if it comes to we've had sponsors on before, and that's because we thought it was a good idea because the product worked with what we were doing. Mike has the FM, Anchor, and that's great because that's something he's using. Like we're using these products out there, and that's the only time I told you we're gonna do that stuff. But I don't want to have, if it happens, it happens. But we want it to be an honest happening. We're not gonna
fancy.
Yeah, we're not gonna float the number. Like, hey, my mom got a YouTube account so she would watch the show, but that's okay. Well, it's my mom, right? She's got to do that. Anyway, so make sure to subscribe and review our show on all platforms. We really appreciate everything there. Follow us on Twitter about the cards. You can follow Ben at our trading cards. You can follow Steph at Junk Wax Twins. You can always follow me at Big Ship 79. Mike, where can we get all of your stuff?
You can follow me at the Mike Sommer on Twitter. You can go to waxpackhero.com for the blog posts, checklists, all the other written content that I have. And you can check out the podcast by searching the Wax Pack Hero Sports Card Minute on iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher and all of your other favorite podcast apps of choice.
Outstanding. And then we had a question in the chat. What is your name on ComC on ComC, and what's your name on Sport Lots?
On ComC, I am Wax Pack Hero. On eBay, I'm Wax Pack Hero 42, I think. And on Sport Lots, I am Trip Lutz.
Outstanding. So make sure you follow Mike. You listen to his show. It's great. It really, it's entertaining. The one on this was a 63 Fleer.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it.
Thanks.
It was great. It was educational, informational. It was just a well told story, and I appreciate that. So guys, share your hobby stories with us. Your great polls. Send your questions our way. Keep collecting. We appreciate hanging out with us another night. As episode 83 is on the brink, and we're gonna have a little Super Bowl talk, which I think is gonna be a fun one. And I think I was right on the Super Bowl picks. I have to go back and look. So anyway, we'll see. You guys have a good one. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
See you guys then.